right, just the way we talked about, I'd like you to state your name and where you're from and the branch of the service you're in.
I'm William C. Dygert from 31 Marshal Ave, Mohawk, New York. And I was in the Navy, Seaman first class.
How about if you tell me how you got into the Navy?
Well, when I went into, I was supposed to have been drafted, see, but then I enlisted. So I didn't want to be in the dirt and the mud and all that. I wanted white sheets. So that's why I picked the Navy.
That's good. It worked out for you.
Oh, yeah.
Good. All right. Well, tell me the story about how young you were when you enlisted.
17 years old. I left my I just finished my junior year in high school. I wanted to go in January, but my mother wouldn't sign. And she said, in June, she says, well, you didn't do anything, so you better go. I had two other brothers then.
And what year was that?
1943.
So you had two other brothers in there as well.
Yeah, one was in the Air Force, and the other's in the Signal Corps.
Now, when you were at home here, were there a lot of people going into the service at that time?
Oh, quite a few.
So that was your family. You had your mom. Tell me a little about your family, your mom and your brothers.
What would you want to know?
Well, just I wondered who was waiting back here for you. You were going off to war. You had
Well, I was the third one to go in. My other two were already in.
Were there any other siblings?
No,
All boys.
all boys.
And your mom, your dad, or no?
No, he was working in the LB.
So, tell me about when you went off, once you were enlisted and you went off to war.
That was the first time I'd ever left home. I'd never been away from home before in my life. Yeah. And I didn't even get homesick.
Well, when you took off, you probably met a lot of new people.
Oh, yeah. Of course, there was 3 people from Frankfurt that I knew very well. And so they were in the Navy, too.
Did you all go off to boot camp together?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about boot camp.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. When they come to Saturday, when they was marching, the CPO, Chief Petty Officer, says, well, you can't march. You got 2 left feet. He says, you can hide under the building. I says, okay. And then what they did, where some of them were rowdy, they'd make them take their sea bag, fully load it, and walk around the track. And that happened at night, too.
So that was quite a new experience.
Oh, yeah. And then I went from Sampson to Philadelphia. And on the first night, I had on my money belt. I woke up in the morning, there wasn't any money in it. I got robbed during the night.
The first experience.
First.
All right, after that, where'd you go to next?
We went to Cramp Shipyard, where we waited for the USS Miami. They put it in commission.
Now that was your ship.
That was our ship. That's why I got the piece of the plank.
We'll be showing a piece of that later.
Yeah.
Now, tell me then, how did you feel getting on your ship?
It was good. I wanted to get into the Bakeshop, but they says, no, you got to be on deck first. And so I was on the deck force, and that is where I got dropped 40 or 50 feet and landed on the deck in between a gun shield and a railing. And I broke 3 vertebrae in my back.
Wow. How long did it take you to heal from that?
They just put 6-inch tape around me and kept me on going. It was war on. We didn't have time to relax.
So you kept going. Tell me about what happened when you kept going.
Then we went on a shakedown cruise down to Trinidad. We'd run aground down there with the ship. And there was 1,300 people, or 600 at least, running from starboard to port and port to starboard, and they rocked the ship. And then the tug helped pull us off, and the captain never got court-martialed because we got off in the reef. And it was beautiful down there. The water was beautiful.
You had some good stuff come out of this.
Then also, after that, we came back up, and we went up to Casco Bay for target practice. There was 3 cruisers. And from there, we lost out, and one of the cruisers went to Europe, and we went to the Pacific, so we had to go down and go through the Panama Canal, and in the middle of the Panama Canal is a lake. And I could almost reach out and touch the sides of the lock when we went through. That's how close. So the bigger ships would never be able to go through these ones that they've got now. They never would. They have to go around. And then we picked up a bunch of Marines and transported them to San Diego. And that's where we got our orders, that we were to go to the Pacific. And we went over. It took us 3 days to get out to Hawaii. And I had Liberty, and I went in the pineapple fields, and they had like a golf cart that would take the people around.
You liked Hawaii?
Oh, it's beautiful. We swam at Waikiki Beach, but it didn't have that much time. From there, we went into the Marianas, Guam, Rota, and Tinian, and we're sitting there. I was still in the deck fort, and we were sitting there, and I was in lookout with these binoculars, and we could see the shells when they hit the targets over on the islands, and you know, these big tanks like you got up there in Utica for gas. You could see the tops go flying out through the air, you know. And then we took one island, and then took the next one and the next one. And after that, we went to, well,
let's stay with that. That was your first battle, wasn't it?
That was our first battle.
Yeah. How did you react to that?
It wouldn't bother us.
You were just doing what you had to do.
We had to do it, and we weren't worried.
It didn't scare you?
No. But the only time I was seasick was when I went through Cape Hatteras off the coast of Virginia. But after that, all the typhoons and all that never bothered me one bit.
Lucky you.
No, I enjoyed it.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to fix this just a second while we keep talking, okay? That's okay. Looking good. We'll talk more. There we go. That's okay. We got more to say here. All right, so you saw your first battle, and you took the islands.
Yeah.
Right, okay. now you were off to, you said, Guam?
Guam, yeah, Guam and Rhoda and Tinian. And there, I remember a fellow from Mohawk was working there when the war broke out. He joined the Navy, and he ran the gas station in Mohawk, Charlie Comstock. And he's gone.
Did that surprise you to find somebody else from Mohawk?
Oh, yeah. Well, I went on, got to Long Beach. I met Bob White, was from Mohawk. We were walking down the street, and he hollered over to me, and I said, "Hey, how you doing, Bob?" You know, no matter where I went, I found somebody.
Right from the Mohawk Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So you went to these other, well, Saipan, Guam, you said Tinian. Tell me about what happened there. You said that something about you were in a turkey shoot in Guam.
Oh, yeah. You've heard about that.
You have to tell me about that. I need you to tell me about it.
Well, you know, you see a flock of crows or birds. Well, that's just like the Jap planes coming at us. Because, see, our job was to protect the carriers. And so they came after us like a swarm of bees. And we got, one went over the bow, one went over the stern, and we got two of them. And they got two of our carriers. Yeah.
How'd you feel at that time?
Didn't bother me.
It didn't bother you. That whole thing wasn't bothering you at all.
No, it's, this guy, Jewish boy from New York, he said he wanted to be an undertaker. I said, well, we don't have any undertakers in the Navy. We'll bury you at sea. And no.
How many men did you bury at sea?
We lost only 2 men. And one was in the East Coast, off in Cape Hatteras, and he got washed overboard. He shouldn't have been at topside, and he didn't have a life jacket. And we tried to circle and see if we could find him, but we couldn't. So, and another one in the same idea in the Pacific, in a typhoon, he didn't feel good, and he went topside, and he didn't have a life jacket, and he got washed overboard. And we circled, and we couldn't find him.
What's it like being in a typhoon?
Well, you know, you've seen these toy boats. Well, our ship was heavy, and it tossed it around just as if it was a little tin boat. And, I mean, the waves were way up over even the commission pennant. And sometimes you couldn't even see anybody because you'd be down in the swell. Yeah. But that didn't bother us either. And
at the time, it wasn't a little scary when the waves were going over your boat?
no, that's ship.
The ship. You're right, ship. So sorry. Now so you had this Japanese fight going on for a bit there, right? And it says then you went to Palau.
Yeah, and we took them islands. And then the Jap was sitting there, were sitting there on the beach with machine guns trying to hit us. And we were far enough that they couldn't have reached us anyhow.
So what did you do, though?
We used our 6-inch shells, because we had two 6-inch turrets, and softened the island up before we sent the troops in.
you got rid of those Japs before you sent your troops in.
Yeah, yeah.
You, when you, your time in battle, I get a sense that you, that this was a very prideful time.
Well, it was something that had to be done.
So it was very victorious for you each time you got the island.
Oh, yeah.
With that, would you say, what about morale? What would you say morale was like?
It was good. The morale was good. Everybody kidded around. But after a while, see, and then I went into the Bakeshop.
After that, when you went to Philippines.
Yeah, I was in the Bakeshop then, and we took them islands, and it was we had the Battle of the Strait there, San Fer Strait. That's where we got the Jap cruiser. And there was one cruiser who was under, the other went over, and we went right amidship and blew it up. So Admiral Halsey said that the Miami gets credit for it.
So you did an awful lot of good things for the Allied troops going in.
Oh, sure. Well, we thought we bombarded the Iwo Jima too, but they were in caves, and we didn't. No matter how much we pounded them, we weren't reaching them. And then we went to the Ryukas. That's just outside of Japan. And that's where they sent us there one night to bombard that island. We emptied all our ammunition, our 5 and 6 inch ammunition, and then the destroyer got hit that was with us. And I have a picture of that. And when they got back, we had to tow it back. And when we towed it back, the rest of the fleet moved away from us. And they left us out like a sitting duck. And we were pulling this destroyer, and it couldn't go very fast. That scared me quite a bit.
You felt unprotected out there.
Oh, yeah.
How long did it take you to get the destroyer back?
Well, we got it back to the next day. Yeah. And we took all the dead personnel and put them in sea bags, and we put them in our freezer to when we go to an island where we could bury them.
Well, how easy was that to kind of ignore? Was that...
Well, you get used to it after a while. You're killing this one and that one. Because, see, I used to hunt. And I shot birds and squirrels and rabbits.
And so you could separate yourself a little from that.
Oh, yeah.
But so you didn't know, they weren't people who were friends of yours?
Oh, no.
They were the other people that...
They were our enemy.
Oh, the enemy you were putting in freezers?
Oh, no,
That was your own guys.
our own guys putting in the freezer
Yeah.
in sea bags. See, it would be canvas that would be sewed up. Yeah,
Get them back to the States.
yeah.
Now from there, you, well, you dropped off the destroyer, you got back with your fleet,
Yeah.
right? And let's see, you guys, and you were back in, it's got Taiwan here, South China Sea, you were back there?
We were over on that, in the South China Sea, and we did a little bombarding on the island there, and that was to protect the fleet coming up. Yeah.
So you paved the way, you were out
we're out, we were out in front pretty much. You see, what we did when we were out there, we were 38th Fleet when Admiral Bull Halsey was there. And then when he left and Admiral Mark Mitsker came, why then we came the 5th Fleet. So we operated on both, just changed the number, that's all.
Why do you think it's important for people to remember these stories?
Well, because it took a lot of people away from their homes, and they realized what they were doing was for the good of the country. And so why shouldn't they know about it? But I never had time to sit down and worry about anything. Even when I was with the deck force, when we had to chip paint and holystone the decks, and they kept us busy.
Hard work?
Well, it wasn't too soft, but that's when I was with the deck force, and I was painting way up above, and they were lowering me back down. I was in the boatswain chair, and the guy was striking for a chief, and he let loose. I says, "I'll help you." I was hanging on. No, he says, "I'll do it." And the rope started burning in his hand, so he just let me go. I just bounced. I didn't pass out. I couldn't talk.
It's always dangerous any way you go, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you said that you went you went into the bake shop.
I went in the bake shop.
Yeah, how long were you in the bake shop for?
Oh, maybe a year and a half.
Tell us about that.
Oh, we had a lot of fun in there. We made bread. It took 300 pounds of flour, and we used dehydrated yeast and all that. And then we made cakes, and we made pies. Were in the long tins. And so when they decided after the war they were going to make civilian pies, I says, "Well, that's going to let me out because I ain't staying to make civilian pies." But no, we had some of the guys that I knew, they'd come to the bake shop during the day and ask if they couldn't have a cookie or something. I says, "Well, if they give you a cookie, what about the other guys?" So I said, "You'll have to wait till your time goes to eat."
Well, so you had to keep them from snacking.
Yeah. Of course, we had the Gidunk and Pogie Bait stand there anyhow. And that's the ice cream and soft drinks.
So those were always there available to you?
Oh, yeah. And what we did, we used to make our own raisin jack. And that was stronger than any whiskey you could buy. It looked like dishwater. And it had a kick.
So you guys were having some fun there.
Oh, yeah, we along with our time off, we had 12 hours on and 12 hours off. But we were there most of the time when, a cook and a baker had to be at the chow line every time there was chow time to oversee that everything went smooth.
How many men were on board your ship?
Well, I think there was around 1,300.
So you were cooking for 1,300 men every time?
Yeah, and we made the bread, though, for even the officers. Because the officer of the day said to me one day, he says, "You know, you're making bread with dirt in it." I says, no. And I says, you're lucky. He says, why? I says, you're getting meat along with your bread. He said, what do you mean? I says, the weevils. We cooked them right in with a... the chief told us we were supposed to sift it. See, as you get in hot weather, your flour has a tendency to have weevils in it.
You didn't sift it.
We didn't sift it that time.
But they made out okay anyway, even eating the weevils.
Oh, sure.
What made you want to go into the bake shop?
I wanted something different to do than just getting up and gotta chip the paint and with a bake shop, there was a lot of difference. And then on top of it, see, when we were making bread, we could always go in the galley and get whatever meat they were cooking. And that was, to me, was interesting. And I met this fellow from Pennsylvania. He married my wife's friend that was in school with her. And we became acquainted. And I lost track of him. And one day I was in Mohawk at the hardware store, and he says, isn't your name Bill Dygert? I says, yeah. He says, I know there couldn't be anybody as uglier than you. You know, we had a lot of good times. We had this one Noah was a cook. He'd go out and get lit up, and he'd come back, and he'd break in the chaplain's office and get the piano, and he'd bring it down in our department. He'd play the piano and sing.
You guys made the best of it.
Oh, sure. Why not?
Now, in the middle of it all, you saw the battles and you were having a good time at the same time. I'm sure you become very close because you're on that ship all the time with each other.
Oh, yeah.
But there has to be a few things that stand out in your mind as really strong memories. Some might not be very good. Some might be the more difficult times. What were some of the more difficult times?
Well, as I said, that when we was in this turkey shoot, I mean, the planes are going all around us, all over us, and I says, oh my God, I says, this is going to be it. And I mean, you figure you've just about had it. And our guns were blasting away. But and then when we had to go up and bring the 6B back, that's the destroyer that got hit. And then we saw the damage that had been done. It rolled the deck up just like you open a can of tuna fish. And then you begin to feel sorry. But it was just like everybody else. You get the enemy before the enemy gets you. We instilled that that was instilled in us.
And it worked for your ship.
Oh yeah, we were a very loyal crew. Like we had one boatswain that we didn't like. So when we went to Boston, we took him with us, and we got him lit, and we left him there because we knew the next day we were pulling out. So we got to Miami, and Shore Patrol come aboard and wanted to know if we wanted them back. And the captain says, no sirree. And we were happy, we got rid of them.
I wonder what they did with him after that.
Huh?
I wonder what they did with him after that.
I don't know.
They must have assigned him to another ship.
They must have assigned him something else. But we got rid of them. Because, see, our crew was almost all new. We had New York and Pennsylvania. 90% was from Pennsylvania and New York. We had a few from down and southern, but no, that's so we have a reunion every year, and this one's going to be the 60th, and I'm not going to be able to drive that far to go to it. It's going to be down in Philadelphia, and so I'll send my dues in, and they'll send me what happens at the meeting, and we kind of talk back and forth that way.
The reunions just must be great.
Oh, they are. I tried to talk my wife into it. She says, no, I don't want to go. She says, all I hear is war stories. How do you talk differently to your buddies than you do to maybe me or somebody else? Do you talk differently to them about the war? No. I listen to them, and then I tell them, well, we had it tough out there too, but what are you going to do? Like we used to kid the Marines. We used to call them the seagoing bellhops. And we had a detachment on board our ship. We had a captain, Ferguson, and he was in charge. And on anniversary day for the Marines, we baked a cake, and we had this one fellow, Lou Noor, and he would decorate it. And we'd give it to the Marines. But no, when you see the veterans and you talk with them, you talk to them just like anybody else. You just don't crow too much.
Yeah, because you don't know what the other one's been through too much. Right?
Well, that's right. And I go to the VA hospital in Syracuse, so I know. And I go up there and you see these guys that's in the wheelchairs.
You know they've really been through something.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How much did you, when you came back from service, actually I should ask you first, how did you react when the war was over?
We had to go back out. That's another story.
Well, tell me the story. I'd love to hear it.
We had to go to empty the arsenal down Tawara. That's an island that we bypassed when we skipped these islands, and I could see why, because you would never got in there, because well, it was narrow. It was narrow and here to the wall, and they had gun placements. Yeah. So what we did, we emptied the arsenal, and the admiral gave the cruiser division, everybody got a Jap rifle and a bayonet to take home. And we had permission to carry it with us. And so what we did, they came over, my buddy was the cook, and they wanted some chow, the Japanese. So my buddy put hot sauce in it, as hot as he could make it, and they wanted seconds.
So it was pretty good, huh?
Yeah, they thought it was great.
So you had got in there, and so you had some, or they were essentially prisoners at that point, weren't they, or no?
No, they were
just there.
They were just there,
Okay.
and they hadn't been called back.
Okay.
But they were harmless. But yeah, there's a picture in my book there of the rifles that we brought back out of there.
Do you still have yours?
Oh yeah, I have a Jap rifle, I have a Jap pistol, and I have a Jap Rising Sun flag. And I also have a doll that's dressed like the guards at the Imperial Palace, Japanese.
Interesting, you know, when the war was over, some people were really kind of partying and up and having a good time.
Well, we had to get back out. Our ship had been fixed, and we had to go back, and they had to do this, accept the surrender down there at Tuaro, and to get the arsenal emptied, you know.
During this time, did you have much contact with anybody back home?
Not I used to write to my mother once in a while. See, at that time, I wasn't married. And so I didn't have to worry. Because when I left, I told my mother, I says, I'll either come home in a bag or I'll walk in. I says, so don't worry. She was crying. I says, don't worry about it.
Well, if I'm a mother, I would worry if my son said that to me.
I mean, we knew what we had to do.
So how did she react, though, when you finally did come
Oh, they were overjoyed. I remember when I came back after a long duty out in the Pacific, well, then they wanted me to be the Grand Marshal in the parade. You know what I told them? No siree, I got to rest.
You could have just ridden in the car and waved.
No, I was tired. See, I had to come from California all the way to the East Coast.
Well, after you got home and everybody was overjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
Then you had to rest up.
Oh, yeah.
Then what happened?
Then I had to go back. I got shipped. Yeah, I had to go back, and then afterwards I got shipped to the East Coast. That's where I got discharged at Lido Beach, Long Island. They sent us home in cattle cars. The seats were like buckboards.
From Long Island to...
From California to Long Island. See, when we went out to, when we traveled cross country, we always managed to have a bottle with us. And we'd even give the conductor a drink. But every time they would stop, somebody'd get out and go get something else and bring it on.
Helped you manage the buckboard better.
Yeah.
When you got home, and after you rested and things, what happened with, how were you different when you got home than when you left?
I was nervous. I was driving a car, my father was in it, a Model A and I got so nervous I hauled off and slammed the windshield and almost went through it. And then I was in the barn and I was doing something and I got mad and I took a PV and I drove it through the floor. I was just a wreck and awful. My nerves were all shot.
So the whole thing did affect you then?
Eventually, yeah. And I didn't let it bother me.
Did it surprise you that's how it came out?
Yeah. Of course, my wife says that's the way it is now. You get mad, you blow your top.
Kind of stayed with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people said that the war had changed them.
Well, it does a little bit. And I mean, when we first came back, we were met at the wharf, Dinah Shore. Yeah. And that's the first woman's voice we'd heard in months.
You were all liking that.
Oh, yeah. But then I knew I was going to go back east, so I didn't worry.
You said to me something before we started talking on camera, and I said that that was an important thing, and it was about you going overseas as a boy.
Yeah.
Can you tell me that?
Yeah. Well, when you go in service, you got to grow up. And by doing that, it's like you go in as a boy, you come out as a man, and your mentality is a lot better. Because, see, when I went back to school, I went back to high school, and the teacher, or track teacher, said, I would like to have you run track. I said, you would? I said, you know what? I'm 22 years old. These kids are only 15 and 16. That ain't fair. And he says, well, you were fast. I says, that don't bother me any. I says, I may have lost a little bit too. But, you know, that's the way it is. Like now, I'm able to hobble along. I got braces on both knees and the back.
That back injury stay with you?
Oh, yeah. And they said that it healed, the vertebrae's healed, but it's still, you can feel it. And I can still see myself when I hit that deck. I had more gold braid. The captain and all the officers were there within 5 minutes. And I couldn't say in boo. I couldn't even speak.
Part of the dangers of it.
Oh, yeah. But if he'd have let me help him coming down, it wouldn't have happened.
When you said you were home and you found yourself being kind of nervous, you realized you would come back differently, and you went to high school.
Yeah.
High school, good for you. How about you building a family and working and things like that? How did that go?
That's when I went to school. When my teacher had, he was in the Navy too, the guidance teacher. He says, you can't go to school all day. He says, half a day is enough for you. He says, I'll put all your classes in the morning, and you can go to work at the LB in the afternoon. And it worked out. It helped tremendously. And I took 2 regents and another test in 8 weeks. I had only 8 weeks to study for regents and history and English. And I had 90 average in science.
Well, you got out. What about you? You went to work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about what went on in your life after that? Or what about getting married?
That's when I met my wife at work. This girl, it's a friend of ours, says there's somebody that wants to meet you. I says, well, bring her around. And she didn't. I said, well, I'll go see her myself then.
And that was it.
Yeah, I went over to see her, and we went for a ride. And I says, how would you like to drive the car while I sit there and talk with you?
And it worked out from there, huh?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And you lived in the valley
I've lived in Mohawk all my 79 years.
Did you have children? Do you have a family?
No.
The children?
I've helped all the kids. I was president and one of the managers of the Midget League. I worked in the Boy Scouts, and I was a scoutmaster. I had I had 4 eagles, and a couple live, and then nobody below second class. They were all above second class. And then I went into, what the heck else was it? I was in, over and here in the shop. I was president of the local union. And I had mostly women. And the vice president of the corporation says, how come with all your seniority, you're sticking your neck out? I says, it's because of you. And he says, we wouldn't have a union if you'd have treated us right. And so I was 19 years, I was president, and then this girl said that she wanted to run for president. I said, well, go ahead. And she had it, and she won the election. And 2 weeks later, she come to me, and she said, would you take the presidency job back? Why? I says, is it too much? She says, yes. You know, and I fought the company, and I took them to International Labor Relations Board down in Washington, and I beat the company, and I took out 6 personnel managers.
Oh, you must have had some interesting goings on there.
Well, I knew the contract front and back, and I wouldn't allow the company to step on the women at all.
You know what's interesting is we've had several vets who've been involved in scouting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Very popular.
Oh, sure. It's worth it. I used to take them on hikes.
The discipline.
Oh, yeah.
That's because you're so disciplined and you could pass that on.
I had around 60 boys.
Now, did you met your wife and you got married. Did you tell her about all of your battles in the war?
Some of them.
Why not all of them?
Well, she said, I didn't think I ought to tire her out with all that. Of course, she heard a lot of them, and I was with different people.
What makes you see the importance now of telling about your dad?
Well, I think it's time that the people realize that we did give up everything to save this country, and now the kids are practically ruining it again. And I hate that.
Well, we appreciate you telling us your story very much. We very much appreciate it. I'd like to look at some of the things you brought. Could we look at some of those?
Yeah.